I'm very excited to see where this map veto is going to go, because we've seen KOI obviously having some preferences for some maps, but the results have not been good. If we think about how their matches have gone, we see the first map is an absolute blowout. You know, it's like a very, very defeat sense. It doesn't matter if it's their pick or not. It is the second one that they come alive, and both of them in these 2 weeks have gone to that overtime. They have not been able to close any of them out. So a map win will be enough for me.
And weirdly enough for me, for BBL, even though we're kind of, I don't want to say criticizing the Ascent comp, but you know, week 1 we saw the Icebox come out, then we see obviously BBL's week 2. What do we see this week? Do we see something else that's potentially something BBL have kept as a pocket pick, so to say, or a trump card almost to pull out and show us something special once, or potentially special?
Yeah, I mean, they've been cooking, we've been eating. Was it a good meal? Yeah, I mean, food was had, Mike. Food was had that day. I am very excited to see where those two teams are taking us map-wise.
Yeah, as I'm saying, I think that it depends a lot where they want to go. For KOI, having less time, they have to be more specific. BBL, they repeat on that Lotus, and Movistar KOI is going to go back to that Haven. No surprise to me, BBL chooses a map that they've been not only successful in, but that KOI looked absolutely terrible against. But there is a lot that needs to be said about that Pearl and the way that Foot played it. So there's a lot of that footage that I think BBL are going to take into consideration. Mike, you were mentioning the Icebox.
Yeah.
And I think it's also the pick that everybody expected Movistar KOI for.
I promised Pau I wouldn't mention certain things that we discussed about the Icebox comp, but well, it was to counter. Okay, if we see it again, maybe I'll talk about it. But it was actually a
way to tease us.
Hard counter. So I'm not sure if we will see it again this week.
Sorry, was it to hard counter what they thought KC was going to run on Icebox? Like,
yeah. In terms of a play style, I mean, there was also some other things they wanted to buy some times in you know, potentially slowing down the retakes and opening up some possibilities in the post plan. But I don't think we actually got to see how they wanted to play it, to be honest with you, in week 1. So we know they had a very, very slow start on Icebox, and that was more concerning than the comp itself in my eyes. I don't think really that was comp specific.
Yeah, and thinking about what we can expect from this first map as we're going to jump about Pearl. And since we're speaking about those compositions, as we see Shados on camera, is he going to go back on that chamber? Because struggle is a small word for what he had to deal with when he was on the defense. He literally could not get almost any value, and they didn't even find a single round on the attack. It was very devastating because it only ended up with a map where they got 2 rifle wins, and that was about it.
I mean, obviously a team effort to lose like that, so you can't really just blame it on Shados or his chamber. We know what he can do on that very agent, but yeah, we're going to see him on that Sova this time around.
He's going on the Sova. Fly is going to be going on the Vice. No changes for the side of BBL.
And this is, again, one of the role mismatches I was talking about was actually Soulcast, and again, it's a tale as old as time, right? Not finding the consistency in some of the flexing we've seen from him. The Vice hasn't worked on a few maps, so to see him flex onto the tail here, maybe give Flyer some space to kind of stretch his legs a little bit, could be a positive.
I'm so interested because I feel like in Movistar KOI, there is a point where you have to play the Vice. I think that this is going to be Flyer's first time, and I want to see how he's going to be developing on that agent. Seeing Soulcast on the Tejo, I really, really like this. Like, I like this mix and match, and I hope that Shados finds more comfort, and we see, you know, with this double drone, I want to see how they structure the defense when the timings are the most important, when they can get the most value out of all of the tools that they have. Because yes, it was a very devastating defeat, but those are the ones that you learn the most from.
That's true. Losing is learning, as the saying goes, especially in esports. Hopefully. I mean, it's now or never, right? KOI, again, they are 0-2 right now, so they have to come in with a different plan, a different approach.
Yeah, and again, well, not to beat a dead horse, but also it's another tale as old as time, right? It's another crunch point of this stage, certainly for KOI, to really put themselves, I mean, in a position to really contest the table. It's not something that we've historically been able to say about Movistar KOI.
And looking at BBL, I want to highlight one sociable with that chamber. The same thing that we were saying about Soulcast, about Shados, does not apply to sociable. He's been extremely successful with the chamber here. And when you combo it with Levin's Yoru, the combination is just deadly. I really, really want to see how this first half is going to go. Also, because of the amazing week that Profec had last week in an individual level.
Oh yeah, there were a lot of individual heroics being pulled from those two teams. Let's see who's going to come out on top of this first map. And Mitch and Tom are standing by on the mics.
Thank you very much, Zoe. Yes, we're standing by to kick off this game. Losing is learning, Zoe said, and I think that's very true. Movistar KOI must have learned a lot. Now it's time to put it to the test on the server up against BBL. They came in hot, but there was a little bit of a stumble last week.
Yeah, it seems to be the case quite often with both of these teams that they kind of start a little slow. And I want to see if that's going to be the case here, because obviously for BBL, I think expectations are actually a lot higher. After kickoff, we kind of look at them to be one of the potential favorites even for this group, maybe slightly below Foot and maybe Liquid now that they lost to them. On the other side of things, KOI are already in survival mode. We're talking about a squad that are 0-2. They're the only team in their group that doesn't have a victory. And if they lose here, they're not mathematically out, but they are probably out.
Yeah, the odds are definitely not stacked in their favor with a loss here. Crunch time, Hypox said on the desk, and I have to agree with him. I'm sure Movistar KOI come into today knowing that that is the case. BBL will start on the attack side here on Pearl. We'll talk a little bit about the map pool as we get deeper into the game, but for now, barriers are up, and Movistar KOI taking a bit of initiative, using their flash on Vice to get out in mid, but they see nobody there. And so, it's back to the drawing board. They don't get their initial fight, and they don't take deep space, knowing that there'll be a Vice wall covering BBL's back.
Already. One player does get sectioned off, that wall maybe not lasting quite as long as before, so it will be quickly back into the action, and aggressive positioning already being held. In fact, not so much held, taken.
They're pushing right up for it, and Filu ready to catch that bait as it comes on in and follow up for another. This gets tough now for BBL. Everybody trapped on the back side. Movistar KOI might not expect them all to be here, but now they've got that info to play with. Levin down on 14, and the last man standing for BBL. He won't be standing for long by the looks of things. The defuse tapped and the shot dart in to finish him off. 1-0, a pistol round for Movistar KOI, and a good start on this map.
Yeah, I think an important start of that. Had a rough defense when facing off against Foot in their previous map of Pearl, but I think the change-up in comp, it just may be one that suits them a little bit better. Like, I think it was mentioned on the desk again about the comfort within the agents. They attempted something that was a bit more aggressive, but I'm always happy to see someone like Shados back on the initiator, Flyer, filling that role a little bit more, and Soulcast on an aggressive agent has me excited. I remember back to like times where he was playing that KO or even a Sky at times, and I think he can pull that off, so I want to see how this one works out for him. Interestingly, BBL, maybe a bit of disrespect being shown to KOI at this stage. They have already invested into this round. They're going for the buy. They've got 11 on a rifle, but their opponents have also invested a lot here.
Nice stuff. Sulcus finishing off that kill, just 10 HP needed. It's the outlaw in play. BBL, they forced up, as you said, there's a decent amount of investment. There's a rifle on Levin, but one player down, and it being Astra as well, it makes it much more difficult. Yumpy tries to sneak his way through the water to grab himself a pick, but instead he goes down. Low HP on Shados is one thing, but they need picks, and that rifle still really missing the opportunity to get its teeth into this play, and it looks like they're going to revert back to, I guess, towards a late 8 play. Spike is in the hands of Magnum, though, so luckily
I was going to say, like, yeah, Magnum needs to be a little careful not to overcook this one, give them the spike, but they are now in a problematic territory, a position where they invested, they took a bit of a risk, and need to try and find something from this. Now, what I will mention is this A site
30 seconds left.
Is under-defended. Only Soulcast here, but I assume the only attempt coming out from him will be to try and use those salvos to slow down any sort of plant.
Even still, from the position he's in, with that flash connecting as well, they might have crunched in. Luckily, they have it in Magnum, although he'll take a couple hits for his trouble. Gets the spike down. A 3 versus 5. A big investment from BBL. They've given themselves opportunities, but it was tough to connect anything so far. Magnum's flank up. It hasn't quite... Oh, it has been spotted. In fact, Rubinho got around the corner in time. A decent fight on the site. It's given Levin a chance. Again, though, a sliver of HP, and just that one shot needed. Gotta commend Shados as well as the second man to take contact there on such low HP. I think it was 24 HP from that earlier fight with Yumpy. Staying alive and coming out with a 3-piece, that may just have saved the round for the squad.
Now the question is, do they invest again? Like, it will have even more risk around it, but you've got the plant once more, you've done some damage. by the looks of it on the scoreboard at the moment, it is going to be a singular rifle invested into Sociable. Of course, if he can't buy in the next, he can always invest just into those bullets again, the Headhunter, that could potentially do some damage. But at the same time, it will be an opportunity for economy to be built up by the side of Koi. So you're almost giving them an extra boost in the start.
Economy at least decently healthy for the next. Sociable with an opportunity, and let me tell you, he has had his rounds.
Really?
Yeah. That ace is still fresh in my mind, and will be probably for the rest of the year. It's bought him a lot of wiggle room.
Covering it.
Smoke down deep is pushed Corbinho back. It's going to let them get really close, and with so many pistols in play, that's exactly what you want. Yes, Magnum goes down. He's trying to watch that A push up, and the fact that they walk into him, he's only got a classic. Definitely not the man you'd expect to win the fights, but with the push on A, they decide to take this to the B site. And Corbinho, well, he just about sidestepped those shots in time. He's got support, though. Fly a stud here, outlaw in hand, and this is a problem. Everybody is vulnerable to just one shot of that rifle taking them down, but they managed to close the distance. They find out about the rifle, deal with it well as well. Okay. Not bad from BBL to start with. Yumpy making it a bit more costly, but in the end, it still falls into Movistar Koi's pocket.
Yeah, they've made all of these rounds costly, but the problem is you've basically played yourself twice in terms of the bonuses. So I think if you said to Movistar Koi, okay, your economy will be decent and you'll have a 3-0 start, I think they would have taken that all day long. And now is where we almost need to see a response coming out of the side of BBL, but again, after they attempted to force in that second round, any damage they could do in round number 3 was going to be a benefit. I'm looking though at Filu already having that dimensional drift, the chance for aggression. You're seeing the consistent use of those salvos to garner him extra control. He's just going to hold on to it for now.
Take flight.
Sent in by Yumpy. And this is the spot they pushed up in last round, so you're expecting that same aggression. The smoke down just a moment ago. He's tempted in.
He didn't know Filu was there.
It's the drone coming back in the other direction. It's very smart by Shados, and Filu gets a huge reward.
Yeah, didn't know he was there because the drone was shot by his teammate prior, so this has set them up nicely. The Vice wall in position. If they are going to go through it together, they need to get that timing right. And Flyer's already just waiting for it to be tripped, but doesn't win the battle. An important opener for Levin. Now they can get themselves into a post bomb.
Yeah, much needed indeed. BBL have to dodge that Hunter's Fury. It's coming in hot, and it's landing. Sociable down, and Solkus with a massive punish. Now again, they have to pick up the pieces. The spike down at least. Time, not necessarily on their side. There's still quite a bit for Movistar Koi to work with, and they're not in a hurry. Spotting Magnum from the top rope. Shados might have sealed the fate of another round. Great shock dart, and the push around not gonna work out for Profect this time. A big round from Shados. He's really coming alive at the start of this map, much to the chagrin of BBL. Let's remember their icebox might not look like the best chance to pull this back, especially not after the result against KC, where I think they won 3 out of the first 4 rounds. Remember the score of that game?
Yes.
13-3. Not the best after those first 4.
I think the bigger thing here is just the way that they're playing. Shados currently 7-0. We've always spoken about this guy that peak Shados is impossible to play against. And peak Shados is on an initiator. Like, it's where he has found, you go back to those Gambit days, which, okay, it's a lifetime ago at this stage, but he picks up this role and has always looked incredibly comfortable. We saw it towards the end of the season last year where he was on the Sentinel and even putting up these sort of numbers. So you get him having a good day, it's a rough spot. And I think at the moment, at least for BBL, the way they're playing on these starts of rounds is they're getting caught by some of these trap plays. They're losing a lot of map control over on the A side because of how aggressive you can be with this Tejo. And I want to see what their response is going to be now.
You can see there, Pal and Yumpy having a bit of a back and forth about where this one's going to go. We said Movistar Koi, they've clearly learned a lot, Tom, and well, it's being put into work here on the server, but Shados having a 7-0 start definitely can't be understated. I mean, a lot of the time that initiator is going to have assists, but he's been finishing his dinner and then his teammates after. 4-0 from Movistar Koi. Icebox up next. If you're looking for the recovery for this organization, this is very much at least what you'd expect to see at the start. And surprising, you know, without having their watch party here, we had Uli, Sergio, and Pedro going crazy over in the booth for them the other day, and I bet they're doing the same at home right now.
I think that's just a daily thing for Uli. Yeah. He comes
those
in,
three especially,
he
man,
comes in
loud.
at 100% volume, and then somehow ups to 200%. Levin is going to be taking the charge, though. Immediate space garnered, a passive hold from Koi this time. It seems like they've had the expectation. Instead, they're going to try and sell the idea with that Hunter's Fury, and it's an easy double pickup. A great start after the pause. And now it's a tough round to break back from. I also want to note as well that the way BBL have been playing in their post plants is super aggressive. They're not sitting back playing the time. They are wanting to get in their face of their opponents consistently, not allowing for any form of setup.
Especially, you know, you take a look at the wall that you have here. There's no need to even commit many players to watching your back when you have that. The possibility for Movistar Koi to come in behind is, well, without it being signaled, incredibly low. You know, maybe Filu could be a problem, but when you're facing him right off rip at the start of the round, not so much. I think Movistar Koi as well, though, they lose 2 players. They see that A site fall. They know they don't have flank and even the illusion of a flank because of the Vice on the other team. And so the call's made immediately to save. They avoid going down to Profek and also get a bit of a read on what he's doing, because it's pretty consistent now that they're going for these late round flanks, trying to come up behind, down through the water, or in this case, realizing that the save was going on and they go down to the B site. But I think Profek's going to be a little limited in how much he gets away with in that regard, because it's got to be fresh in Movistar Koi's mind. They've seen it a few times. See if he gets away with it a little bit later on. For now, 4-1. A punchy start in that previous round from BBL, but it relied on a Yoru and a Sova ultimate that they now don't have. So let's see what their solution is in a more grounded round.
Once again, the same use of that Tejo utility to get them aggressive A control. Instead, though, the challenge has been elsewhere. It feels like Control that they're happy to give up, but again, the Vice War is in position to make sure they can't go too aggressively. Grabinho, I think, has done incredibly well at slowing this squad so far, but now they look to run towards that B site once again, where only Flyer is waiting for them. That one, though, comes for free.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a risky play from Magnum. You expect maybe someone to be swinging with him, but the timing's slightly off. He ends up going down for free. Movistar Koi content then, certainly to play that retake, which they might have been forced into anyways. But at this point, they'll be keen to deploy exactly what you're highlighting, Tom. In fact, Filu's away ahead of you, already going in with the Dimensional Drift and Soulcast, hoping that he can find himself a target. They've seen one up close. Levin won't be getting away with that. And of course, it's Shados to connect again.
Yeah, and now there's nowhere really to go. Almost caught out by the salvos, having to play that deep post plant. BBL did realize that this double ult combination was there in potential, but playing this deep with only 2 players remaining, that was a superb retake coming out of the side of Koi. And I'll be honest with you, so far they have looked like a much better squad, just in terms of being very happy to play that retake, allowing BBL the space that they desire. All they're really hoping for is a single opener, and they play the numbers. This is not a side of Movistar Koi I've seen so far this tournament, and they are looking super impressive.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, the big conversation around this squad, especially like keep in your mind, we said if they lose this series, chances of qualification, very low. But the big conversation has been for them that the season isn't over yet. They need to make this.
Hopping into this corner to use Visol.
Yeah, the big conversation for Movistar Koi, as I've been trying to say, has been popped into this position where they're a team that have fans who expect a lot of results. They expect a good season, or at least a contentious one, and they haven't gotten that so far. But this team's being close. 14-12 on each of their second maps here in stage 1. And now they just need to connect that little bit extra. A phenomenal start with 5-1, and as you said, 11-0 for Shados. This crunch now puts pressure on Flya. The flash was perfect. Magnum doing well, putting Flya in the dust, and they move to the B side.
Yeah, they've
Standing ahead.
They popped the steel gun? No, I think they held it. Maybe realizing that they can clear that space without needing to utilize that ultimate. Flyer also lost his on the other side. And one thing I want to note, last time out when we watched Sociable, he was fantastic when it came to that attack side operator. First time we've had that in play. I think for the defense now, okay, you got some extra credits, but the amount of time that's been bought by the Steel Garden, it seems like this one's done, but they are still challenging for this.
Still pushing forward. BBL happy to greet this party as they find themselves a 3v1 time well and truly ticking away, and Shados swinging into heavy traffic, giving Levin the three-piece, and I believe the first death for Shados.
It was.
Finally, we see that he is mortal, and that's 7 rounds into the map.
Yeah, he didn't accidentally walk into the server with God mode active, but yeah, there's something I always enjoyed with Sociable is the calmness. Like, he plays the operator. We've seen him do crazy aggressive things with it, but on attack, it's almost just held on that sort of rotation.
Coming street.
About frustration already, though. That didn't sound great from the side of Flyer. Obviously, the IGL for the squad.
I mean, I'd probably feel the same, though, if I got hit by a nasty little flash from Magnum like that.
See if this is some sort of turning point. Still a couple of ultimates online. Sociable could run the double operator if he wanted to, although if he pops it this round, I'm going to be incredibly worried. And Filu has brought out an op of his own, trying to get a little bit more aggressive around mid. That's all he was looking for, that opening pick. The second Movistar Koi have found that, that's normally been enough for the round.
Yeah, their conversion's been great. It's how patient they play after initial contact, right? Having that vice wall on B. Even right now, they're giving up street. They're completely conceding control of this whole area. Let me do a little drawn. Woo! And this is because they've got these passive positions in play where they don't want to fight you in those spots. They want to fight you coming out of them.
Looking like the A site is where they will challenge. We've said this before, Soulcaster's goal is just to delay. Slow them down as much as possible, but the re-swing doesn't find much. A Hunter's Fury, they've been investing orbs, and also Shados has been eliminating everybody, but this time it doesn't do the damage they were hoping for. An incredibly open plant as well, allowing for positioning towards Art, which is where the majority of this squad will lie, potentially to try and avoid that Steel Garden. It is a big area, though.
Yeah, it's going to cover a lot of ground. Oh, the shot from Sociable doesn't land, and ult comes into play. Fires off one with great success. Shados down, and they're turning tail. They're running the other way, but Yumpy's got him boxed in. He's going to make this beyond costly for Movistar Koi. And on your way back into the series, after being decimated to start this out, this is exactly what you want to see if you're a BBL fan. They might just leave Garbino to save the weapon, but that's 5-3, and BBL hot on Koi's heels.
See, now the obvious value in this round from throwing out the Tour de Force was because of that Steel Garden. You get that pick, they see the Tour de Force online, they go, well, we can steal the weapons away, except for that one, the one that we have to run past. And that's where you see them just look to exit. There's no value in that ultimate, at least from the side of Sociable. 2 rounds in a row. BBL. It really does feel like the second that operator came online, they were back.
Oh, yeah.
Levin still can be the one at the top of the board. Obviously a slower start for Magnum, but expectation is still there that when he moves on to the defense is where he'll have his real value.
Timeout, you're going to see Movistar Koi having some deep conversations. This round's going to be a mixed bag. Operator in play, as you can see down the bottom left of your screen. The credits are not healthy for the rest of the squad, so really trying to make the most of this is going to be difficult. Whether you leave Filu on a different side of the map to play his own life, use the gate crash to get out if things get nasty, and maybe late round look to save it, have the pistol stacked up elsewhere is a bit of a trap. It's something we'll see quite a lot.
A lot of talking coming out of Gorilla as well. I think someone that, in these sort of moments, incredibly analytically minded, and someone you want if it's coming out with a strat or an idea to maybe change that tide a little bit, because, yeah, it is, you sort of said, that they're in a bit of an awkward spot in this round. So what they do with it, you need a gimmick. You need an idea, you need a plan around that operator, and they have the players. Like, I think Filu's had a pretty decent start to this game. They've just got to try and put him into position here.
Filu's in the right spot. There's contact coming his way. They're Drone destroyed, and the shot not quite there. And that's the op given away. They know where it is, but they also know that his gate crashed out, most likely. And with the reveal, that confirms it. So now, you have to reset. Worried about where that op could be. With Levin having the orb, that's going to make it a lot easier to punch through one of these sites and confirm that, well, there's not an op holding it, waiting to take your teammates down. Looks like they'll reset and just push into the A site.
Also, the rotation, though, is already there. Like, the defensive rotation is making its way back to the A site, so this dimensional drift is going to be sent down middle. It will clear the way for the spike, which will get them quite a bit of extra control. They know there's no players close. I don't think it's going to get close enough, though, to go all the way back down the corner of the smoke given for space. I don't actually think they know that he didn't leave. He just stuck around. It's not going to be the picks going the way. And Sokas actually come out with 2 hits.
Well, they didn't know how many numbers were here, right? They saw one player, maybe suspected a second, but nice shock dart from Yumpy. Leveled the playing field, or even put it more in their favor, tipped the scales back over into BBL's hands as the plant comes through. Soulcast and Filu, a rifle and an operator still to work with, but they haven't been able to deal with Sociable just yet. And he has been the difference maker with that big gun in hand. Misses the shot though. Doesn't miss the second.
He knew he was going up
clean
there.
connection. Solkas needs the ace with 2 more to find. He'll go for the reload. He'll go for the round, but put to bed by Yumpy. BBL 1 away. This was a very slow start to Pearl, but they've definitely got it figured out now.
Yeah, I will say the rendezvous put down there from Sociable was not good. Like you could see the constant peaks from Sokas going, he's going to go up there eventually. I know, I can see it. And he's already killed us from there once before, but...
Nice plays! Woo!
Blinding crack.
Resurgence. Coming out from BBL. Again, we're seeing the same aggression. This is something that KOI have done pretty much all the way through. You know you have that Vice wall down on the B side of the map. You're going to get a trigger for when someone goes through. They got 2 players watching in mid, and then they're just trying to hold on to that A control. I think, though, BBL have slowly started to work out this setup. So they're just, as you can see, sending the fake out through the wall to set it off. Then they're not going in that direction. They're just trying to play now with what KOI are running. And when you haven't adapted massively throughout the rounds, it becomes quite a bit easier for them to make a read.
And the push-up this time by Filu. We've seen him in this position before. There was a bait drone, but he is holding that part of the map by himself. Closest player will be over towards the connector, halfway across the map. They crunch into the A site. Watching the push out of Art, sure, can at least be contentious with Shados still holding it. But it'll put a lot of pressure on Filu with his back and his front wide open for a push. But maybe it even benefits him. Still being in this position, Salvo's buying him away back the smoke. He's now on back site, 20 seconds left. They're gonna have a lot to contend with. They're forced forward into Filu's hands. One found as Solkas backs him up at the trades. They're still going back and forth. The spike on the ground with 12 seconds left. BBL need to pick up the pace here. Yumpy wants a safe spot to plant from. Sociable needs to hit this shot, but his arsenal, the arsenal of BBL taken away. The shorty good for 1. Sociable escaped just about. And the ult comes down, a shot needed here, and it's clean! The conversion to the pistol, the headhunter not finding its mark, but the op comes back to finish it off. A Red Bull clutch for Sociable, and a 5th round for BBL.
He just pulls out the spiciest rounds on this map. I feel like he's so comfortable.
As well.
Like, you look at that moment, that is Yumpy within the site, planting, just sticking it, just taking the risk, immediately removes one with a shorty. But it's that split-second decision to teleport out. Because in your mind, there's always going to be the moment where you go, okay, well, if my teammate falls here while planting, that's round over. I'm already screwed. So he had to try and almost just stick around, go back, and then play back with the op, and, well, that was perfectly played. From a huge advantage to level once again. Once more, we're seeing this aggression. Information will be garnered by the Flash, so already, Magnum knows they're here.
Oh, we saw Yumpy certainly get excited. The operator play has been huge so far from Sociable. And for Movistar KOI, And we've seen their setup baited out towards the B site. That led them to get aggressive on A main, and what should have been quite a difficult hold, they reset nicely into, but Sociable recovering on all the disadvantages that may have been thrown their way. Again, that wall will be baited out, but when it goes down, look who's sitting here waiting. Last time they backed up, they gave the space away.
Look how deep he is in this position. Like, look where the rest of the team are as well. Like, you're talking about a squad that's on the other side of the map, pushing into the spawn, and he is on the site. Sociable is taking absolute liberties. They're going to sell the idea. He got you with the shorty. This guy's playing ranked. He's playing ranked. He sold a fake just trying to do that. But the spike was actually going back in his direction. So now with 25 seconds left, they're walking into an A site that still has 2 players within it.
Perfect.
That's a misread. That's a big misread. Yeah, of course, the big rotation hadn't come off the B site. There were still 3 players close, and now 12 seconds. Spike needs to go on the site. There's no time to stop. Just run forward, and they'll win the fights. No way they've managed to recover this with a plant going down. It's not even needed. They beat the clock. They beat the plant out with just dominant duels. And the lead is now in the hands of BBL. I did not think they were going to recover on that round. They looked lost, but I guess they found their way in the end.
They had 12 seconds to clear 2. I think even a 3rd player rotating in. Like, this was dumb. I don't know how he gets that far with nobody knowing, but then to turn this back around is absurd. Like, what happened to the previous ones?
One round to go in the half. Movistar Koi, they've fought what they can, and a Guardian seems to be enough. Sociable. He's had so many high-impact rounds, but they got sick of him on B. Pushed up, took him out, and now we see what the rest of the squad can do without that huge operator play. 11, good for 1, but Filu's matching a 3-piece. And Levin's only got 2, but the plant, well, that might give them a chance with Levin creeping up inside the smokes. He wants to take the fight to them, and he has matched the performance on the other side, gotten his ult as a result, but Movistar Koi also have the info. Can they deal with Levin? No flashes to work with, but just baits for his teammate. Wonderful stuff, leaving Grabinho alone.
This is not the gun you want in this moment. And there you go, a rifle found at least. Can at least smoke things off and try and just stick this under their noses. He's going for it. Halfway done, tries to bait the remaining players in, but has already left the smoke. First shot lands. A little bit of extra damage, all he needs, but it will be the shorty of Levin to close things out from a huge starting point. Movistar Koi have crumbled, and BBO have bounced back.
7-5, a gap of 2 rounds. Well, if you pause this at round 6, I wouldn't be guessing BBL would leave with the lead, but they have done that. Let's see if they can make the comeback all the way to a 1-0 start after the break. 7 rounds on the board for BBL. A shaky start, but now it looks like it'll be a shaky finish for KOI. They were, what, 5-1 in the lead? But it's been a streak of rounds for BBL to bring them back into it and back into the lead, as we said. Now, the pistol, well, Movistar KOI may need 2. The back-to-back pistols just to level it up.
Yeah, I think as well, like, the really hot start that came out of Shados.
11-0.
I think he was 12-0. I think he got his first death when he was on 12.
Yeah.
And since then he's cooled down. Now you can't expect a guy to just go like 20-0 and a half, but it seemed like once he cooled off and once their setup was figured out by BBL, well, let's say after a pause or two, it seemed like they were in the driver's seat. Still, some huge clutches needed, some magic being thrown out. And well, Levin, see, I want to say in danger, he could leave, and he will.
Eventually.
He's like, you know, I can still take him.
I wanted to wait just in case someone got a little ambitious and went walking forward. Now they're looking to try to get rid of that wall on B, but the wall isn't on B, is it? It's being positioned over towards the double doors, giving them a nice bit of info if their flank is being pushed on, and limiting the amount of angles that can realistically be beneficial for Movistar KOI to push on mid. Now they are going towards the other one, but again, there'll be information there. They're being seen that they've pushed up on Art, rotation comes around. Now we're gonna see the late play around from Magnum. And the A side a little bit more reinforced if needed. He's staying in spawn.
The wall will now give it away. That's the great thing about it, is you have the trap if they go one way and the wall if they go the other, but they're all going to step over it at once. Good timing from the side of Movistar KOI, but it will allow for the rotation to come back in. An aggressive potential spot from Levin, but he will be overwhelmed. Profek now in horrible position.
They know he's here too. Just looking to push together, jumping through the smoke as 3. And they will easily deal with Profek. Movistar KOI, they had a great start. 5-1 in the previous map, and looking to repeat that here with another pistol. Shock darts go through, time quite low, and the plant needed right now. No time. If that plant is stopped, then Yumpy at least has it boxed in! With a phenomenal play! A 3-piece from Yumpy! And no doubt taking his time to celebrate down on the stage before the defuse. That is phenomenal.
I can have a replay of him screaming. I'm, you know, I'm sensing it. I'm sensing that there might be a replay after the Red Bull clutch. If he's actually calm now, I will be yeah, he's just sitting there like, surprised. That was a delectable clutch, lads.
Splendid play, gentlemen.
He's been listening too much to Pal.
Understandable. I do that all the time.
Yes! Whoa, 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 whoa,
what was that? All right, well, Yumpy's feeling it. He's fired up. Go on, Pal, do the same. Oh, no barks out of Pal. It's disappointment from the fans.
Right here.
We'll get it.
It's weird because like off cam, he's always barking. Like, that's where Yumpy actually gets it from. It's called the Pal bark. Oh. Well, see you later.
Well,
Sociable. That's not the start that they were looking for.
No. They may not have had the bark in the last round, but Movistar KOI certainly come into this one with a bite. Already picking off one. And you know, for a second I thought it was an outlaw they got. It being a Marshall, it's not so great.
You know, I've realized.
What's that?
So we are joking about Pal.
Yes.
But on Friday, he's going to be stood here.
And I will request that he barks, or imitates Yumpy as best he can.
Yeah, but he's also, well, he's got more muscle than both of us combined. So I'm starting to question if this is a good idea.
Yes, I am curious if he can lift both of us at the same time, one arm each. We'll see. We'll see what we can get done.
Hey, the BBL fans will enjoy that.
I'd enjoy that. Anyways, round 14. A lot of pistols in play for KOI. Not a lot anymore, as Levin is just shredding through them. The recovered Marshall on the floor. A flash well placed and well timed. Oh no, Filu's had a bit of a whiff with a weaker weapon. It's a classic.
The classic is mean.
What it is.
Like, it's where the fate of the classic is chosen by the gods. Maybe you'll two-tap someone, maybe you'll right-click and get 2 people in one burst.
Oh yeah.
Or you'll do that.
Well, that's the thing. You got to pray to Leo before you go for that swing, and he didn't do it here. Didn't get the ritual right. Maybe they will next time. An opening pick from the side of Movistar KOI, but an immediate response from BBL. Damage control, and off to a fantastic start in this half at 2-0. And indeed, this puts them up to, what, 8 rounds in a row? Movistar KOI 5-1. And they've been left in the dust. It's time to pick up the pieces and try to reassemble what was that good start.
They have to win this round as well. Like, it is almost as much of a bonus as you're going to see nowadays. You've got two Bulldogs, some Spectres, and then obviously the Headhunter. It's not a particularly pretty buy, so I look at this one from the attack side and go, okay, if you're getting back on the horse, if you're going to challenge in this map at least, I want to see this clean.
The same old wall, you would think, but this time it's a little bit more passive, I suppose. Yeah, allowing them to push up through this archway, and they're going to take advantage of that potentially. No, they're not. But the wall split them in two. Levin has a real chance. If he was full HP, I'd be confident he'd connect it. Instead, ends up baiting out some of those Razor Vines, taking the TP back towards spawn. A passive hold from BBL, and it might just be that they're forced to play the retake. I see them step forward, revealed. One player on the back of the site, and they both swing into Shados! But Levin from up top, even with low HP, he's giving them a chance.
Yeah, it makes me nervous when I see that Sociable is still alive, because I think this guy's BS meter is off the charts.
Gun here.
Chance for a weapon to be retrieved. Manka's wall coming in, but there will be that gun picked up. Sociable already getting maybe a little bit further, but eventually Soulcast in position. And now the question is, just Profit just hold onto the gun? I think, yeah, walking back into 3 players doesn't really have the same amount of value as just holding on to that additional rifle, and that'll be at least something from their bonus round for BBL. But for Movistar KOI, they managed to get past the majority of the trap plays, and I think they're going to learn from this round that, okay, that wall is going to be particularly placed to basically just confuse us, because that was placed deeper to give a gap for Levin to play around, but also you could see it in the moment. They were like, why was that there? The immediate Vine usage was just flying going, that was here before, that's moving forward. I'm going to Vine this because he's probably there.
I think you have to look at how Profect plays on BBL's own attack side to sort of realize what they're trying to bait them into there. Often it's going to be that one player coming through double doors, at least from BBL's playbook. And if that's the case, well, you have a choice. Trip the wall and give away where you are, or maybe they've given you a gap. Maybe you can catch the timing, and that's when...
But when the round before they didn't give you the gap, you know that that's
you're like, why is there a gap now?
Look at this aggressive push, though, coming up from the defense. 3 players making their way through arc, looking to try and challenge. Already a little bit of extra information and a passive start from this attack. And my main worry is where the spike is. It's currently left completely on its lonesome. Shados seemingly aware of the potential, but he's got to be careful, because if he goes down, that's not worth it. That spike in the spawn, the entire play with the majority of players heading towards that A site, now has to stop and go back and clear every single angle.
And the rotations that they can play here, having one covering off Art and then 3 on A site. This is because of the wall and how it's changed up. Now it's not even on B conventionally, where usually you would see it as a little bit more of like a line here. Instead, it's put even deeper to get you that early info, and then you can immediately activate those vines to stop them getting to site. So huge delay there. That's why they're stacked up on A, and Movistar KOI about to learn a lesson about the setup that's in play, about the numbers they'll run into. They take out Levin, that will spur them forward, but Tom, still 3 players here.
Already gone, the stuns are nice, but even still Sociable could play ahead of them and escape without too many issues. The gap wasn't seen though, and actually they've managed to trade this back. Make it look doable for Grabinho. Someone who's always been solid in these sort of scenarios, has found the space, but still doesn't know where Yumpy's coming from. Had a decent idea, but the timing couldn't be any worse. And you put this man in the clutch situations, he'll take them home for you, it seems.
He's hyped up about that as well. The timing, though. Grabinho had an idea. He was looking the right way, and if he just waited... Of course, how could he know? If he waited, maybe he came behind him.
Exactly.
You know? He had to make a move. But he made the wrong one, unbeknownst to him. And as we said, this is just...
like the combo for the backside, though. I think they're using the Pulse out from Astra in combination with, I believe it was the Thorns thrown in as well, or the Vines, and then having those salvos. So it's like, if you're stood on that backside, you are dead, and so they had to push forward. That's a really nice little bit that was thrown in by Movistar KOI. Unfortunately, it doesn't get them the round.
And again, the change-up coming into play. The wall, we've seen it absolutely everywhere at this point. It's right on your screen. They'll use the decoy again to bait that out, so no information to be held early by BBL, bar what they've claimed themselves. Boots on the ground, pushed up B long, and an early fight that leaves Grabinho clinging on for dear life.
But this is the tough prospect, because most rounds, as you said, B has been given up, be it a stack or a wall, or anything of the sort. And on the other side of things, they've now gone aggressive on that side of the map. Sociable still in position. Drone coming his way, but you know that he's going to be tempted to stick around, and they don't even wait for the drone to actually clear off this angle. He's been able to hold on, gets 2 for his money. And well, the drone attempted to clear him. Shados has done well, though, at least bringing things again back into contention. And because he killed off Sociable, you now don't have the trap on mid.
30 seconds left.
The wall was triggered on A as well. Movistar Koi know there's a flank likely underway, but they're caught up in the push towards the site. Solkas better be watching their back, but now losing Flya, they have to spur forward. The door's wide open for Magnum. And he's gonna walk right into play with 12 seconds left. There's no time. They need to get on that site, and there's too many players in their way. Movistar Koi, 5-1 start, now sit 11-6 behind with a massive comeback needed. We were worried about the Pearl from BBL after those first 6 rounds, but this is more of what we expected to see today.
Well, yeah, I went back to the UK over the weekend, but this is definitely the most crumble I've seen in the last few days.
I see. I see.
Try not to die.
You proud of yourself for that one, Tom?
Very. They almost have 5 ults online, Mitch. So even though this buy is a little bit stinky, you can have the dimensional drift for space. I assume the orb is going to be taken eventually from Flyer to get the Steel Garden online. We know how impactful Armageddon can be, and hey, if Prophet wants to spam a smoke with Vandal bullets, it's not going to get much easier for them.
Okay, ult goes in, but no real ground take.
They only
In
just
response from BBL, they just sit back, waiting for that ult to come into completion so they can take down Filu. And that's the rifle for Movistar Koi. There's one to be retrieved, and it will be picked up by Solkas. Post-planned ultimates, Shados and Solkas can do a lot, but Magnum's coming in, and he's managed to find Solkas, somehow leaving Grabinho alive, but not for long.
He's got Stinger.
Flya's got it all to do, on range, Stinger to Spectre, he's playing gun game. But his opponents got there first.
Yeah, he needed a few more kills before he get to a rifle.
The judge next, I suppose. Oh, 12-6, 6 in a row needed, and it's been a struggle to even find one for Koi.
Yeah, it's not looked particularly good. I think the idea in this round actually didn't go too bad. Obviously, Prophet helped them out quite a bit, but the retake still looks solid. The gun being lost didn't help, and he's now intimidating, or no, sorry, he is copying a little alarm. There you go. Imitating.
Yeah, that's a little beep, beep.
He heard it earlier somehow.
Well, we need to get the league officials to investigate if that's the case.
Don't worry, this is a tactical pause. I would say the earlier tactical pauses we saw, they seemed a little bit more in tune with a chance of winning. Like, I always find these sort of pauses, unless of course you're Mini back at lock-in, as rough ones to make work, because you're basically looking at your squad after they've now won, what, 1 round in the last 11? It's not great. And you've got to try and come up with an idea to win them 6 rounds in a row. Doesn't look good, Bref.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it depends. You could be seeing things along the way, small adjustments that you can make here and now, but
they need a big adjustment.
the reality is, yeah, exactly. A little tweak ain't gonna get you back on the road anytime soon. 6 in a row, it's a big task. It's double what they've managed so far, even with a lights-out start and a pistol under their belt that will have given them injection.
Being 12-0.
12-0 start from Shados, indeed. And
which does mean since then he's been 6-12, but
yes.
I don't think we're going to harp on Shados too much.
oh, washed, man. He's washed.
From the first half.
Well, it is Pearl after all. 12-6. 1 round to go for BBL, and they go into Icebox, somewhere that, like we said, they struggled up against KC. 3 out of 4 of the first rounds, a 13-3 loss in the end, so there's a chance for Movistar Koi.
There are 4 players currently sat within that B long position. This is a hard read coming out from BBL. They stacked up the rest of their utility. The wall currently sat towards Art. The Thorns as well there to delay. But this is basically just like, right, we're going to hold B, Magnum hold A.
You know, I read from a coach before, if they stack B, we should go A. I think that's what they're going for here. Whether the result is going to be found or not, well, that is still to be seen as Magnum finds a double, and he's left down to a shorty. But if they try to pounce on him from here, Levin will be more than capable of providing that bit of support. They're sent out by the salvos. The gate crash used to keep him alive. But Movistar Koi, they get the sight for that ult, but they lose so much in this 3v5. Their flank is open and being pushed on. They need space, and they try to fight for it, but Magnum stands in their way. A bastion of defense for this squad, and an ace under his belt to lock in the 13-6. They started 5-1 down as Yumpy beckons the fans to make some noise. We will go off to a break and find out if Movistar Koi can bounce back on their own map pick after this.